Alright, so what you see here is the Temple of Abidos, and these are some peculiar looking so-called alien hieroglyphics on the wall. They're they are made by two overlapping king names. You can see the hieroglyph for king in the left. But I'm using them as a cinematic element to kind of imagine, at least for a second, that whatever you believed wasn't true, that the timeline wasn't a line but a circle, a snake erasing the traces of the past. And after studying hieroglyphics, this became my view for quite a bit of time, because I was reading the texts and seeing that most of the hieroglyphics were just a type of propaganda for the king, saying, I came here, I killed my enemies, and I conquered and raised this temple, and I'm the son of this god, or so on and so forth. I can tell many interesting things about the hieroglyphics. That they were known as Medu Necher, translated meaning speech of the gods, or perhaps you could even go as far as to say that they were what the gods were personifications of, which is nature. Another thing that the Egyptians believed was Heka, meaning magic, and they had different ways of practicing magic, and perhaps this was ways of utilizing the power of nature and making it rain, or making it certain protections, or who knows. But what I want you to understand and imagine is that their worldview was radically different from ours, and each civilization finds themselves within a certain worldview that they seem to be seeing the world from, and this, in some sense, changes the world, at least for the person experiencing it, and you can see history as this big battle of civilizations with their worldview essentially one coming to dominate the other, and this other world view erasing what was before it. Now, I titled this video Atlantis Unveiled, and with that I don't mean to make any necessary similarities between Egypt and Atlantis, but more to refer to Atlantis as a philosophical concept, which I think is what it was originally intended to be by Plato. And it's this idea of everything from the past that surely existed, but that we have no idea about, and which is lost to time and history. All the complexities of the past, and the practices and the rituals, and all this life that these buildings that you see in this picture represent. And I think it's the natural outcome of what I just talked about, with civilizations colliding and erasing each other, essentially. And And perhaps our only access to this realm is through the imagination. And it will, unfortunately, always be dictated by our own timeline and our own position in history, which makes us project everything that we know onto what we see, which is why we see the helicopters and the airplanes and the hieroglyphics I showed to you earlier. But who knows? Maybe they did have some ancient technology. The people that I spoke to here in this temple sure thought so. They thought that the whole temple of Abidos was some sort of landing strip for these airplanes and things that you see depicted. And here is a footage of a flower of life in the top. I was blinded by the sun, so I didn't quite catch it, but it's there. You see it, and it's the same depiction on many other big monuments around the world. The same geometric symbol, and who knows? Perhaps they were in contact, or perhaps not. There is just simply oceans of things that we don't know about the past, and we have this huge lens that we still put on history and project from our own perspective, thinking that we are so much more technologically advanced and smarter, perhaps intellectually, or and who knows. I think it's certainly valuable to lead your attention this way, and think in these lines. And perhaps the Egyptians warn about something with the hieroglyphs and the magical texts of the gods, and perhaps if you imbue things with meaning and purpose, they actually do work. Like the way in which a placebo effect with a pill would work. And perhaps they did have a certain science of the mind that seemed to treat people, and who knows. But still, yeah, so much is lost to us, and all I can do is make this little footage with my philosophical ideas to try to inspire you to see the monstrosity of what we don't have anymore. And yeah, it's clear to see their worldview in the hieroglyphics, and just by driving along the coastline of the Nile, you can tell how important the water and the life is, and how green it is just around the Nile, and then complete desert surrounding it. And everywhere there's the hieroglyphics that say "Di Ankh," which means give life, and they're begging for this Nile to bless them. Essentially, I think, and it's the powers of nature, or the gods pronounced NTR, nature, or in Coptic, natur, or perhaps nature. Yeah, who's to say? And so the other big idea I had with this snake biting its own tail and this Egypt footage is that essentially everything is a type of propaganda for the timeline that it finds itself within. And everybody who wrote at this time with the hieroglyphs were writing within this story of Egypt and their mythos, and so are we, in a sense, um, writing within our own timeline, and people have always done this. And so everything becomes, and why do I call it propaganda? Because it is just writing its culture, but in a sense it's maintaining this illusion of a history, of a beginning and an end of history, or a certain place that we're moving towards. Right now we are finding ourselves in a good spot of history. That's what we are telling ourselves, at least right now, and perhaps we've always done that to a certain extent. But it's maintaining this idea that oh yeah, we're in 2026 right now. Why are we not in some like 250 billion year X or something? I don't know. It's oh, that's Jesus Christ, and I don't know. But it's perhaps I want to open people to the idea, very scary to entertain in your mind, that perhaps history is infinite, and existence is infinite, and the mind is infinite, and it doesn't necessarily, its nature is not with a beginning and end and a fixed point. It is ever present, and it's in some sense the wrong question to ask, and it's just a filter of our understanding. Um, and so in this sense, uh, Atlantis is an ever-present reality. It's now, and we're living through it. And so I'm making this video to make you think, not within the system that you're brought up with, but past the programming and the illusions, and to make you think that perhaps the way things are now, in a certain sense, they have always been. And this is the realm of illusions, and it's illusions all the way down. The world is Maya. Welcome. And yeah, so don't believe everything that you're told, and live life in your own time. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.